Good day everyone, and welcome to Exile News, the weekly show that brings you all the important news and information on Path of Exile. And very late last week we got the changes to the Atlas of Words, so some of the things we already know. For example, this bar here is a progress bar towards the next conqueror that you're gonna spawn, and you can see in the map in the middle and the last map, you will get the normal spawns with the monsters special to the conqueror. The map in the middle, they will be normal maps, however, they will still count towards the progress, so that you will know what is going on. Even if your normal maps, you don't notice anything different from those, you will know that you are progressing, and that's definitely pretty good. Sextants are going to bring back the vendor recipe, which is always good, and they're gonna count for the watchstones uses, for the special unique ones, so that they will end up being multiple or divisible by 3. Also, the awakening levels are being changed a little bit. I'm not very familiar with these kind of things, but the point right now is that the awakening level is gonna scale depending on how many watchstones you have socketed in your atlas. So every 4 watchstones you socket, you get 1 awakening level, and this does not have to be all in one region. You can have for example 4 watchstones socketed in different regions, and that will still give you the first level of the awakening. So that's pretty good. There's more in-depth thing if you wanna, or if you need to dive into this kind of thing. Otherwise, new news this week are the new skills for the wand and the wand improvements as well. So first up, Kinetic Bolt, which we saw in the trailer last week, basically is one single projectile that zigzag in front of your character, and every time it changes direction, it shoots a smaller and a shorter ranger projectile to the side. So basically it's a zigzag in the middle and then all of the side projectiles, and this has strange interactions with, for example, forking, because it makes them fork once more, so it probably goes more in a cone rather than in a straight line, and that's gonna be kind of strange. Also, increases and reduction to spell damage also apply to Kinetic Bolt attack damage at 150% of their value, which is very huge because, well, you can get a lot of spell damage instead of attack damage, and you can get a spell damage wand instead of an attack wand, and it's gonna be great. Also, Spellslinger is the new support gem that we saw. It reserves, basically you link it to how many skills you want, and it reserves 15% of your max mana for every skill linked, and then it accounts for the mana multipliers of the eventual supports, and then basically you can cast your skills supported with the Spellslinger every time you attack, with a cooldown of like half a second. The cool thing is the fact that the base damage of the wand is added to the damage of the spell, including all local added and increased damage modifiers, meaning if you have like 200 flat elemental damage to your wand, that's gonna be transferred to the spell. So some spells might just become really strong with this, and I'm sure we'll see a huge deal of skills or builds with this skill in the next league. There's also a couple wand balancing and notable changes, but nothing too big. I highly recommend checking the video here if you haven't yet, because it shows these skills in action and you can definitely get yourself an idea on how they work. We also got more skills. So Arcane Cloak is basically the defensive, similar to Steel Skin and Molten Shell for mana based characters. Basically it uses a percentage of your unreserved mana and grants a buff that absorbs 75% of all damage from it. And well, the amount of damage absorbed is determined by how much mana was used. So the more unreserved mana you have, the stronger this skill is gonna be, because it's gonna always reserve the same percentage, but the bigger it is, the bigger your shield will be. So that's gonna be pretty good. Stormbind is, well, the skill in the video, and I just recommend watching the video to understand how it works. Basically, the first part of the skill just places these runes around, and then you can redirect your cursor and kind of pump mana into these runes, and then when you release everything, the runes explode, dealing more damage the more mana you pumped on it. It looks clunky. It had a teleport to the last location targeted, but it's been already removed after the first feedback on Reddit, so yeah, there's no more teleport, and I don't think it's a movement skill anymore. It shouldn't have the tag anymore. And also we got the Archmage support, which basically empowers one skill with mana pretty much, because when you use Archmage, your skill that has to hit and has to have a mana cost, otherwise it doesn't work, will cause it to use a percentage of your unreserved maximum mana, and the larger is this percentage, or rather the larger is the flat mana related to this percentage, the more damage will be added to your spell, and it's gonna be lightning damage, so you cannot really change that. But if you watch the video here, you can see that it hits pretty damn hard, but at the same time it's not very sustainable. Of course, you can have a very small unreserved mana portion, however, that means you will have a very small added damage to your spells, so it's basically promoting less usage of spells, but more powerful. It's kind of like the pulverize equivalent of spell damage. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how that goes. It's probably gonna be used by someone at some point. Also, again, more skills. This time it's movement skills, and what GG is doing beside buffing some of the skills. So dash, it's already pretty in a good position, so it just gains a little bit of travel distance as it levels. Frost blink now deals damage to the place it starts and the place it arrives, which is absolutely great. Also, should reduce the cooldown if you hit like counting enemies at both of the ends, and it should travel further than before, which is pretty great. Lightning Warp also has a discast time lowered, but the nice thing here is that they added a new support gem, which is called Second Wind, and adds an additional cooldown count to the skill, which basically means that you can use the skill one additional time before it goes into cooldown. So you can use, for example, 4 times the Flame Dash, 2 times Frost Blink, not Lightning War, because Lightning War does not have a cooldown, so any skill that's not instant, right? For example, Blink Arrow is gonna work 2 times before going to cooldown, and that's definitely really good, definitely really nice for the fights, and maybe even useful for going around. There's also going to be a big... And GG also did some changes to Spectres, and in fact they added over 350 new monster types to the pool of possible monsters which can actually be used as Spectres. And this should definitely break something. I mean, there's so many Spectres possible now that someone will find the perfect Spectres to break the game. But it doesn't matter, it's a really huge number, and it definitely creates build diversity. So it's definitely really good. Also, of course, as usual, keep an eye on this page here, which is the teasers compounded. As you can see, there's the older teaser down here, and then there's the newer ones here, for example, new divination cards, or the new circles as well. And well, definitely really interesting if you want to know kinda how this works. Also, if you haven't had the chance to catch it live this morning, at least for European players, well, the new episode of Bakelast, held by Turkey, had Rory and Neon, which are the game designers, some of the most important game designers at GGG, and you might recognize them from the panels at ExileCon if you are still new to them. But still, they talk about the new leaks, they talk about design discussions, they talk about what's going on behind some design decisions, defenses, life, the new jewels. And speaking about the new jewels, what we know now is that the big wheel is mostly damage, the medium wheel are mostly utility, and the smaller wheel are mostly defense, meaning that it's highly unlikely that you can just build on the right side of the tree for full life just using huge jewels with life. That's probably not gonna happen, so yeah, be sure to actually plan your build if you're planning a starter with some of this insight knowledge. Otherwise it's probably going to be really hard to start. Next week is going to be the live launch, so really hyped for that. And yeah, I guess that was all for this week, so if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and a comment down below. Also, if you want to remain updated every week, be sure to subscribe to my channel. That was all, I've been your host Orzo, and I'll see you guys the next time.